Counseling for the Princeton Public School District. And if this is your first time here, we are very excited to have you and welcome to Princeton High School. So as I was about to say a second ago, I actually have a daughter of my own who is in 8th grade, so I'm in the same boat as all the parents in the room. It's an exciting time. And ironically, my children are going to go to the high school where my wife is a math teacher, so that's a nice little thing for our family. So you guys are a little bit of guinea pigs tonight. So how I am told this works, I'm a pretty techie guy, but I didn't know that this was a thing until 24 hours ago, but we're going to give it a whirl. So how this is supposed to work is if you scan that QR code and English isn't your first language, I speak here, and through my laptop microphone, it will translate into whatever language you select. That's at least how it's supposed to work. So I'll leave that up there for a minute. I see a couple people putting phones up there. Just so everybody's aware, the presentation itself will be converted into a PDF and posted on our website. And then Mr. Van Velser in the back here is being so kind enough to video record tonight's event. So it will be available online for viewing for anyone who isn't here. So if you have any friends texting you, asking you to take notes and screenshots, you don't have to worry about any of that. Please just sit here, enjoy, soak it all in. It's a lot, as you could imagine. High school is kind of a whole different animal. But we're going to walk you through it as best we can. There are 7 school counselors here at the high school, as well as Mr. C over across the street, and then Miss Ekstrom at PCS, and then Miss Fulton at Cranberry, right? I think I have them all. And then, I don't know how many folks, you don't have to raise a hand, but there is a slide tonight for any of you who are not currently in any of those 3 places. If you're going to be new to the Princeton Public School District, there is a slide for you on here as well in terms of getting registered, speaking with our registrar, Mrs. Lori Scala. So, all right, we got a lot to cover tonight, so I'm going to get started. Let me see how I do my slides now. Okay, so welcome. All right, this is just a quick agenda for all of you tonight, so you kind of know what we're going to cover. I think I did, the quick intro. So graduation requirements, if the child in your family is the oldest, and this will be your first experience in high school, there are very strict guidelines, as you would imagine, regarding what classes students need to take, how many credits they need to earn. There are some state testing requirements, unfortunately, as well as attendance requirements. So we'll go over all of that. The schedule. So in full disclosure, I started working here in September, so I probably will struggle tremendously. I'm just going to put the schedule up there, and you're going to look at it. And, this probably won't surprise you, but when I talk to students, they're like, I just follow what the schedule says in the app. It just shows me each day. It just shows you that day, apparently. This is what the students tell me. It just shows you that day, and they just follow it. They just worry about that day, which that sounds like a teenage thing to do, right? You're just writing whatever's right in front of you for that moment. Content area. So I have fabulous colleagues here tonight who are going to speak to their respective departments. We have our math department covered, our science department, visual and performing arts, and special education. Unfortunately, a few of my colleagues did have conflicts, so we will have to skip those slides. And really, obviously, the meat of it is the course selection process and selecting courses. So that's just kind of an overview. She asked me if she could not speak, which is fine, but I would like to introduce you all to our principal, Miss Cecilia Burge, who's sitting right here. And then, again, they will come up later to speak, but I'll just do quick intros. Dr. Joy Barnes-Johnson is Supervisor of Science. Mrs. Tiffany Brennan is the Supervisor of Mathematics and Business. Mr. Patrick Lenahan is Supervisor of Visual and Performing Arts. And Mrs. Crystal Riddick is Supervisor of Special Education here at the high school. And the folks I skipped, unfortunately, had conflicts and couldn't be here, but I wanted you to see their names. All right, so these are the fabulous folks I get to work with every day. In my office is physically located inside the counseling office. There is a breakdown there on the left, so how it works, if you're across the street at Princeton Middle School, it's just Mr. C is the 8th grade counselor, so everybody in 8th grade has the same counselor. Well, here it's by your last name. So everyone in 9th grade I will say, there's, from what I'm being told, again, being new, there can be a lot of fluctuation in terms of, you might be thinking you're going to come here and then maybe end up at private school or the opposite, vice versa. So, if that has to be adjusted, we will obviously make that. It's on our website, so that's the easiest place to go. Myself and the secretaries in my office work 12 months, so you can obviously reach out to us year-round. These folks are on the teacher schedule, so they work 10 months a year. There are counseling staff, so in addition to the school counselors who are pictured there, just so you can kind of see their face, we have other staff members in the office. We have a college and career counselor, Dean of Students, Ms. Ligas, who I just saw in the hallway. I don't know if she's here, but she was just down in the hallway. Mr. Mborski is our student assistance counselor, and Dr. Dinan runs our IDEA Center, which is essentially like a tutoring location, an extra help location, and she coordinates our service learning program. And then we have members of the child study team listed there for our students that have an IEP. All right, so this is the slide I referred to a few minutes ago. For anyone in the audience, if you are not currently at Princeton Middle School, Cranberry, or the charter school, you're going to want to reach out to Mrs. Scala. Her phone number is there. She will walk you through the registration process. Again, when this presentation is uploaded to our website, probably tomorrow or Friday at the latest, you will be able to click on that link, which will take you to the pre-registration page, just to kind of get the ball rolling if you'd like. But she asked me to tell all of you, deep breath. We're going to do this after spring break. That's what I'm being told is the appropriate time frame for that. I mean, your students aren't arriving until September, right? And we will absolutely get them a schedule. To be honest with you, I mean, we're starting this process now, right? It's only January, and again, not coming till September, right? But really, this just gives us a chance to know what our staffing needs are and which courses are going to run, because we have plenty of students registered. Or if only 2 students sign up for a class, obviously we can't register, we can't run that class. So obviously, starting this early is really a benefit for us. So no rush. You will be able to register here, and we will have the student ready with a schedule by September, just like any other student in 8th grade. All right. So I don't want to dive too into this because it's kind of a lot, especially again if the student is the first high school student you have in your family. But just so you know from the get-go, where's the finish line, right? I know we're not even at the starting line yet, but we're going to talk about the finish line. So on the left, there are a certain number of credits students need to earn in order to advance from one grade to the next. I don't know if you guys, hopefully you don't, but if you ever hear the word social promotion, that's not really a thing in high school. You have to be making satisfactory progress to move from year to year. We do have a community service requirement that our students take care of in 10th grade, and then we have a racial literacy requirement as well. And then all the requirements listed on the right pretty much line up with, they're identical to the state of New Jersey requirements, and of course they meet Princeton Public School District Board of Education requirements. And the big target goal is 120 to graduate. Counselors track this every year, so they are, you could pick up the phone or shoot an email at any time. Hey, where's my kid at with this? I remember this 120 thing the guy was talking about back when we were in 8th grade. You can reach out anytime, and they will know this like the back of their hand. All right, so I mentioned earlier, in addition to all those curricular requirements and credit requirements, course requirements, we have the state testing. It's the New Jersey Graduation Proficiency Assessment, NJGPA, which is taken in 11th grade, so you don't have to worry about that right now. And then attendance requirements. Got to come to school, right? I mean, I know that's been a fight everywhere across the country and maybe beyond since the pandemic, but got to come to school, all right? All right, I'm going to hurt myself if I really try, but I wanted you to see it, right? And I know at Princeton Middle School they obviously have a rotating schedule, which sometimes people tell me is even more complicated. So maybe this actually doesn't look that scary. But this is our daily bell schedule. So essentially, it's a 4-day rotation with 44-minute classes. I know that's really small. You might not be able. It's kind of blurry. Sorry about that. This is actually on the homepage. You could literally go to the homepage, scroll down, and one of the links. There's 3 links kind of in the middle. And one of them is high school bell schedule, and you'd be able to see this and blow it up and make it big. But so essentially we have 4 days with 44-minute periods, which is about normal. Probably a lot of us had that experience in high school. And then we have these longer periods on E and F day. Sometimes I hear the word like block days. They're just longer. All right, but again, you can see that on the website. And again, for anybody that just came in, the presentation tonight is being recorded, and the actual PowerPoint will all be available on our website shortly, within the next day or so. All right, so just wanted to mention that we do have partnerships. The first one I'd like to talk about is Mercer County Technical Schools. All right, so we have really, kind of two different versions, if you will. So we do have students that can choose to go to Mercer County Tech. If there might be some students here, or you're the parent of a student where you're kind of on the fence, like do they come here to Princeton High School, or do they go to Mercer County Tech School? So there are a couple programs there that I listed on the left, the Health Science, STEM, and Culinary Arts, as well as Share Time. So this is, as you can see, one of the first bullet points. This is more for our older students, where they will come here to the high school for half of their schedule, and then they'll go over to Mercer County Technical School for the afternoon. So an example of this share time would be, we have a couple seniors that take their classes here that they still need to graduate, like English and phys ed, and then they'll go over to Mercer County for automotive technology. Right? We don't have an auto shop here. We don't have an auto program here. So the students do what is called a share time program. All right? One of the other partnerships I'd like to talk about, because this is a goal for some students, is our partnership with Princeton University. So as you can see with the bullet points, I'm not going to read them to you. It's obviously very rigorous to get to that point. It is a goal for some students, and that's fine, but I wanted you to know the criteria, so it's here in the presentation, which you will have access to. All right, and we are a guest, right, of the university. Again, being not only new to Princeton, the school, but the community as well, and the university, I had no connection to the university prior to coming here. I hear that they've recently made it a goal of theirs to increase their enrollment in their undergraduate population, which, if I just read that that's a great thing for the institution and for the students to get to take those spots. But if I read between the lines there, then that means 400 fewer spaces for high school students over the 4 years that they're going to phase that in. So, we'll have to see how that plays out, and maybe I'm wrong. I'm wrong every day, so it's okay. I can live with that. That was a joke. I was supposed to take that slide out. We'll skip that. I'm really sorry that that's still in there. I guess, it's in there, and it's, all right, so there's prerequisites, right? I mean, that's not hopefully an uncommon word. You can't just waltz into, certain situations, and I think that's a life thing, right? Again, I have an 8th grader, I also have a 6th grader, and sometimes, Daddy, I want this, and I'm like, yeah, well, I want a boat, but, you don't just, buy a boat. So waivers, if you don't meet a prerequisite, there are opportunities for students to ask for a waiver, but it's very limited. There's an approval process. It's a little too much for tonight. This is why I didn't really want to get into it, but that's what I get for not being as prepared as I should have been. I apologize. But if that is something that a student wants to do, certainly the counselors can walk them through it. All right, so this is just in order by the person's last name, right? If anybody's like, why are we doing it this way? So according to that, I put first on the list is the lovely Dr. Joy Barnes-Johnson to speak with us tonight about science. Oh, that's right. Why are they? All right, well, we'll just advance to the science slides. Oh, okay. Sorry, guys. This is the lovely Tiffany Brennan, Supervisor of Math and Business.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for being here. Like John, I'm new to Princeton, but also like John, I've been doing this role in other places for quite some time. I wanted to start a little bit tonight about talking about the 8 mathematical practices. We are in math not looking to just build little calculators that can solve problems quickly and race through as many math classes as possible. These 8 mathematical practices are actually hanging in every single 6th through 12th grade math classroom in our district right now because they're really important. We want kids to make sense of problems and not give up when they're trying to solve them, which might mean you make mistakes sometimes. We want kids to use logic and reasoning, justify and critique, all these things that you can read just as well as I can, model with mathematics, use tools strategically, attend to precision, use structure, and utilize patterns. All these things mean we want kids to think and solve problems and apply them in many different situations, not just solve quick, 2x plus whatever equals whatever, not just solve real fast equations quickly, but to actually think and understand and reason with mathematics. In the computer science classes, we actually had one teacher ask, "Can I have these posters too? I'm just going to cut off the part that says math," because the rest of them is really applicable to any class. We want kids to reason. We want kids to model, take one situation and use it to help them in another situation. And so I just wanted to talk about those and the things that we're really working on in classes before I tell you what our offerings are. Because we kind of get a little worked up in the math department. Not the teachers so much, but many students and parents get worked up about racing to take as many math classes as possible. And what we find sometimes is that kids that race too quickly, too early, struggle a lot later on, and we really don't want that to happen. This chart is not new. It's in our program of studies. It was in there last year. It just lists some of our common math paths. If you follow down the left or the center column, it's not every mathematical path. It's just the most common ones. So in 8th grade, you may be taking an Algebra 1 class, or if you're at our middle school, maybe you're in the Algebra 1 Part 2 class, and then likely you would take geometry next year, Algebra 2 after that, pre-calculus as a junior, and then senior year you could make a choice to take either AP Statistics, or we have a bunch of different levels of calculus, or you could even take both of them. That's just one path. There could be a star asterisk next to all of it that says, or accelerated, right? Down the center talks about if you're taking either Algebra 2 or geometry as an 8th grader, then you would take the other one as a 9th grader. I know there was some debate last year about which one is better, which one should I take first, did I get to this one, did I get to it? You're going to take them both, and the order really isn't so important. So you'll take, you may take one in 8th grade, the other in 9th grade before taking pre-calculus, accelerated, or regular pre-calculus, of course. And then you have those same options just a year earlier. And then you would be able to get to, if you so chose, to multivariable calculus and linear algebra. That's it's all one class. There are a lot of different paths, and kids make their own path. Some kids start in accelerated classes and realize that's too much. Some kids start in an on-level class and realize they're ready for more. And so we do offer more classes than this. They're all listed in the program of studies with an explanation and prerequisites and all of those things, but these are the most common paths. We do also offer, for kids that are really into math, a summer program that you could take after 8th grade, anytime after 8th grade, in Algebra 2, geometry, and pre-calculus. So you could take one of those classes in the summer, but just know it's a lot. The state requires us to meet at school for 120 hours, for each class, whether you do it from September to June or in the summer. So you can see how we take this much content and squish it into this much time. So it doesn't matter how great you are at any subject, taking this much and this much is really hard. It's 4 full days a week for 6 weeks, so you really have to love it because you're going to live it. On the right here is computer science. Most of our school kids as 8th graders will have already completed Algebra 1, and assuming that you have done that, you could take a Python course if you're interested, or computer science principles. You can see all the way down the right, that computer science principles class really is the principles of computer science. So you can take it at any point. It is not just reserved for freshmen. But then there's also Python, followed by Java, followed by one after the next. So we have kids that really do amazing things in computer science. And that computer science is everywhere now. What we don't have up here is information about our business classes. But we have many, many classes in our business department also, ranging from accounting to economics to computer graphics to Cisco cybersecurity, architecture. I'm missing a whole bunch of things. And so we've got lots of different opportunities and options, and we can't wait to welcome you into these walls of the school. So, thank you.
Now we have Dr. Joy Barnes-Johnson, Science.
Good evening, everyone. It is my delight to stand before you again this year to represent the course offerings for science. As with the math, we want to focus on critical thinking and making sure that the science and engineering practices are important to every child, that every child has multiple opportunities to explore as many different sciences as they choose, looking at cross-cutting patterns, cross-cutting concepts and patterns that range from the life sciences through engineering. And so, what we hope that your child will have an opportunity to do at Princeton High School is pursue their own passions, what they think about most, and the kinds of things that make them curious. We want to make sure they have opportunities to investigate those topics deeply. So, our goal is to make sure that students can follow a college preparatory program that will prepare them to be lab proficient, know how to use materials safely, and to imagine deeply. So our course offerings are in the life sciences. Every high school student in New Jersey must take life science. It is our recommendation that students take that life science course as a freshman. That means they get the required course out of the way, leaving room for the remaining 3 years for them to explore those things that give them great joy. The 4 disciplines are life science, physical science chemistry, physical science physics, earth and space science / environmental science. Then we have engineering as well. So these are the areas that students are allowed to take courses in. For 9th graders, those life science options look like Biology 1, which can be accelerated or non-accelerated. If you are in the DLI program, La Horticultura is a qualified life science course in Spanish. The course is taught in Spanish. We also have environmental science as an option for students who want a little bit more readiness before pursuing a Biology 1 course. The accelerated pathway for science requires 8th grade students to take a placement test. If they have met the cut score and are placed in accelerated Biology 1, there is an expectation that they have strong performance in 7th and 8th grade math and ELA, as accelerated Biology 1 is writing and language intensive. So, we call this as a department our mapping every child. We want every child to pursue the things that motivate them and pursue the things that inspire and that they aspire to. We look, however, at their previous courses, their previous preparation, and their proficiency, so their test scores and their academic performance, but we do not ever expect that will limit a child that comes into the high school. We leave room, make space for their maturity, for them to grow, understanding that most children will, in fact, find something that inspires them and that they can aspire to. So we plan for that. And so here are our recommendations for you to consider. In general, recommendations are made and finalized in April or May. If children are have placed into an accelerated class, we will then begin the preparation by sending information through the 8th grade teacher to help them understand how to prepare for the course. But I want to say that when you get to Princeton High School, there are so many options to explore science, so that even if you are not on an accelerated pathway when you first get here, there are opportunities for you to get into accelerated programs like our research program, which is a multi-year program where students get to do research. And we have award-winning research students here. We also have opportunities for students to volunteer in and around various research centers around the school. Some of you are familiar with our chickens outside, and you see our raised beds. We have the ESTEAM program, which is an opportunity for high school students to mentor middle school students that we have tried out this year, and it has been wildly successful. This is a place where you can do science, you can do technology, you can be an engineer, and hopefully you will innovate for the rest of your life. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Barnes-Johnson. All right, we are going to move on to Mr. Lenahan with our visual and performing arts information.
Good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to introduce the Visual and Performing Arts Department to you all tonight. It is one of the most highly regarded VPA programs in the area, or arguably the country. We have really exceptional teachers who motivate our students and push them to their maximum potential, and we see evidence of this every day. I had the pleasure of working with all of your 8th graders just yesterday. We brought all the 8th graders from Princeton Middle School, the Charter School, and the Cranberry School right here in this facility and presented a program on all the performing arts that we offer at Princeton High School. We had our band, choir, orchestra, theater students, as well as our dance students come up and perform and really showcase what we're able to accomplish here at Princeton High School. We're really proud that there is a place for every student in our program, and in each of the 4 arts disciplines, there is a foundational level course, not necessarily an easy course, but a foundational level course, and one that will meet students and help them to move on to the next level. The PHS program of studies, I'll be honest with you, it can be overwhelming, right? You open up that program of studies and there are hundreds of opportunities for your children right here. And that's a great thing, but it can be overwhelming for students. And the biggest question that I get is, well, can I take this and this and this and this and this? And the answer is yes, you just can't do it all the first year. So you have to kind of make some choices, and we're hopefully gonna be able to help guide some of those choices tonight. One of the questions that does come up is, can you take more than one arts class in a year? And the answer is yes. You need to make sure that you complete all the graduation requirements that Mr. McMichael talked about, but it is possible to take more than one arts class. So if your student is a visual artist and a musician, yes, they can do both, and able to do that successfully for all 4 years. So in our visual art program, all freshmen and new students to the school that are interested in visual art should take our Studio One course. This is our foundational course. It is both a 2-dimensional and 3-dimensional experience. It is appropriate for all students, no matter what their level of experience is, and it's part of a sequence that prepares them to be successful at the collegiate level if they pursue study at art schools, or in our upper level classes here at the high school. We explore techniques and conceptual ideas, and this is a full year course that meets every day. But that may be different for those of you coming from a middle school experience. There is a sequence of critical skills. We don't permit jumping of levels, and all students start at Studio One, so they don't miss any of those critical steps, those critical processes that we want them to go through, or mediums that they may not have had as much experience in. Please be assured that we meet everybody where they are, and that we always challenge students to their fullest potential. For your future planning, your students will start their college portfolio prep in the 2nd year of Studio Art. In our theater program, we have 2 options. A Drama 1 class that is either the foundations of acting or Drama 1, that is the Foundations of Musical Theater. This is a new addition to our catalog this year. We found that there are students that want to explore one path or the other. If you have a passion for acting, singing, and dancing, take the Foundations of Musical Theater class. If you have a passion just for acting, then you're going to take the Drama 1 acting class. No audition required for either one. We do have a limited option for Drama 2 for those students who come to us with extensive experience prior to 9th grade. And in those cases, you would email Ms. Kruicki to set up a private audition for that. Our dance class is a wonderful, exciting class, also full year, no audition required. They study various dances from modern dance and ballroom dancing and Latin dancing, contemporary music, hip hop, it's all there. It also includes opportunities for our students to choreograph their own dances as well. These classes, just like any of our other performing arts classes, can be repeated year after year because the repertoire changes each year. In our music program, questions usually arise about auditions, for this year, they're all going to be held in February and March. So each of the 3 music programs functions a little bit differently, so I'll try to clarify some of those differences. In our band program, we require a placement audition for all 6 band classes. And this is so that your child can be placed appropriately in the ensemble that will best lead to their success. Our band directors will visit each of the 3 schools, Princeton Middle School, the Charter School, and the Cranberry School, to do an audition of every band student, whether or not they're planning to continue on in band in 9th grade. This is so that if you do change your mind over the course of the summer, we have some baseline data in order to make those placement decisions. If you're coming from another school other than those 3 schools, please email Mr. Bon Jovi, and he'll set up a private audition time for you. Please be assured that you will be placed fairly, and your placement will give you the most appropriate experience so that you can continue to improve. Orchestra has 2 ensembles that are open to freshmen. One is called Repertoire Orchestra, and that is a non-auditioned group. And so if you are interested in that particular group, just sign up for the class. Symphonia is our intermediate level orchestra, and that does have an audition requirement. If you're interested in auditioning for Symphonia, please email Mr. Lauren. His email address is on the screen to schedule a private audition. Choir does not have an audition component for freshman year. All students new to the choir would take Chorale 1 or Chorale 2. Chorale 1 is for our sopranos and alto singers, and Chorale 2 is for our tenor and bass singers. This stresses all the foundational elements of singing in a choir and prepares them for the audition to audition for one of our upper level choirs at the end of freshman year. I'd like to invite you to come and see some of our concerts, our plays, attend an art show. Sometime over the next couple of months, it'll help make some of these decisions a little bit clearer. I really want to welcome you again to Princeton High School, and I look forward to seeing your child continue to grow under our tutelage. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Linehan. All right, Ms. Riddick, special education.
In a long time. Thank you. I'll be quick. My name is Crystal Riddick, and I'm the supervisor of special at the high school. Princeton High School is inclusive of all students. We work hard to make sure students get the choices that they make in a schedule. We work with all supervisors. As students prepare to come to Princeton High School, their case managers they have in middle school, we meet with them throughout the year, which is called our articulation meetings. So we'll meet with that case manager a couple of times a year to prepare for the student's transition, to talk about what the student needs to be successful at Princeton High School. We map out that student's progress throughout the high school, meaning where does that student want to be at the end of their 12th grade year at Princeton High School, and we try to start planning that backwards, which I mean is where do they want to be, what does it take to get that student there. So we start those plans even before the student enters 9th grade. All of the case managers, that the student has for the high school is available on the website. We kind of choose case managers by students' profiles with their case manager that they have now. If you suspect that your kid has a disability, your student has a disability, if you go to Princeton Public Schools website, there's a procedure there of how to get your student tested. And if you have any questions, my name is on the website as well. You are welcome to reach out. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Riddick. All right. Okay, so requests. That's really what we're talking about at this stage of the game. So, this is not a schedule, right? This is the courses that, as parents and guardians and as students, you will be asking to take in the 24-25 school year. So this is what a example of 9th grade requests would look like. Oh, she's here? She's here. Okay, lovely. I'm so sorry. I didn't see that. You're very sneaky. All right, Ms. Russell is going to come up and speak to us about the World Language and ESL programs here at Princeton High School. I'm very sorry. Here you go.
No,
Here you
that's-
are.
And do I just push down? Down. Yes, okay. Well, the reason he didn't think I was here, I was at Community Park earlier this evening. We were having the parent information session for our 10th group of DLI students coming in. So, and I came over here slowly because it's really foggy out there, isn't it? So, well, I want to say that world languages at Princeton High School are thriving. As you can see, we offer 6 languages. We hope that people will take more than one. Will take several years of a language. And we have a place for everybody in our languages. For instance, in Spanish, we have 12 levels that we offer here at the high school. And in French, there are 10 different levels. The other languages all have 5. But we are just very excited that we have all of these opportunities. And as you may know, before the pandemic, we had a robust partnership exchange with schools around the world. And that didn't happen, of course, for a while. And now we've started up again. Last year, we sent a group to Cuba for Spanish. This year, to France. We've had our exchange with Colmar in France now for about 35 years. And so our students went there, and 40 French students came here. Next week, we welcome our partner school from Carpi, Italy, coming to stay. And our students went to Italy in November. I'm working with the China Institute to try to set up a trip to Shanghai next year. And we've started talking about a trip to Rome for Latin students, as well as going to Japan. We're just waiting for airfares to go down a little bit because it's pretty expensive. We do lots of things in languages. It's very tasty. The Italian classes last year and then in a couple of weeks have gone over to use the kitchen at the middle school, so to prepare Italian foods. And in the Japanese classroom, which is next to my office, there are always wonderful smells coming from there and little treats that make their way over to my office. So. As you can see from up there, the state mandates 1 whole year of world language. And of course, in 1 year, you don't develop very much proficiency. And so we here at Princeton High School suggest 3 years, 4 years of a language, and said 2 languages, or sometimes I have kids who take 3 languages, if you can fit them in to your schedule. So all students are receiving a placement. So these are students who are at the middle school, at the charter school, and at Cranberry. Their 8th grade language teacher is making a placement recommendation, and when you meet with your guidance counselor, the guidance counselor will register you for that course, not for one that's higher or one that's lower. Now, what all students need to remember is that we're not even halfway through the school year. And when your teacher meets with you to talk about your recommendation for next year, if you're not happy with it, then do something about it. Like, do your homework, pay attention in class, participate, because it's all up to you whether, what level you'll work your way into. The converse happens also if you say, oh, hey, I'm into 3A or 4A, and so now I'm not going to do any more work for the rest of the year. And that's an unpleasant surprise in May when teachers are reviewing placements. So say, you'll hear from your teacher, they'll talk with you about where the recommendation is, and then, figure out what you're going to do about it. And I guess I'm talking mainly to parents. So parents, tell your kids they can figure out what they're going to do about it. So beginning levels of language are open to all students if they haven't studied it before. If you're a native speaker of Spanish and you want to go into Spanish 1, you're not going to do that. We'll make sure that you're in the appropriate class so that you can continue learning. Now this, I gotta push a button. Okay, so this is important because I know there are many students who have, as you see, a proficiency in Latin, Mandarin, Japanese, or Italian, and you wish to study it next year at Princeton High School. Parents need to email me very soon so that we can set up an evaluation with the appropriate teacher at the high school. Now, send me an email, don't call. I watch emails all the time and I rarely hear the telephone ring. So, but that's an important thing to do soon because you'll be meeting with guidance counselors just before spring break, I believe. So it's important to have that placement set before then. We talked about 2 languages. Anybody who's coming from a school other than the middle school, charter, or Cranberry need to have a placement evaluation. So when students register and they meet with a guidance counselor, the counselor will get in touch with me and say, I have a student who wants to continue in Japanese. Could you please set up an eval? And we get that done very quickly, all during the summer. So that should work. I'm also the supervisor of ESL, English as a Second Language. And I'm just very excited about all the offerings we have for ESL at the high school. It's taken a long time to get them, but we have a strong staff and offerings in every department. It's very exciting. And then finally, as you know, I'm the supervisor of dual language immersion. It says here in February that we'll do an evaluation of the DLI kits. I'm not sure I'm going to get to it in February, but very soon, and just to ensure that that placement is absolutely correct. Joy Barnes-Johnson talked about the course in Spanish in science, La Horticultura, or around the high school it's called La Hort. This is its first year, and it has some DLI kids in it and some of our ESL kids who are native Spanish speakers. I'm working on or with a new social studies teacher to who's a native Spanish speaker, and to come up with a course in Latin American affairs or something like that soon. So I'm hoping that will come pretty soon. And that's about all I have to say. Just the way the 8th graders from all the schools came over here yesterday or a couple days ago for the arts. On February 9th, I will spend the whole day at the middle school talking with all 8th graders and bringing some of the language students over with me, so the students can learn more about the languages other than French and Spanish and Mandarin that they've been exposed to for a long time. So thank you very much.
Before I get back to the presentation, I just would love to take a second to, this place still blows me away. Like I feel like I just started. Yeah, I'm excited as I was the day I started. Like, oh my gosh, the offerings. The hard part for all of you is picking, right? When you only have 8 slots to choose from in your schedule. But I'd just love if the audience could give a round of applause for my colleagues for being here tonight. But more than that, the work they do day in, day out with the fabulous teachers we have here to make all of these amazing offerings. And hopefully you heard several times, students that are in the audience, you heard this, and parents, I hope you heard this too. Like, the effort that these folks go to make sure students are appropriately placed where they're at, right? I mean, this isn't just like go into the Power School, check some boxes, hit submit, and we'll see what happens. Like, this is not that. So, there's a lot of hard work that goes on every single day here in this building, and I'm just, couldn't be more grateful to be a part of it. All right, so this is where we left off, right? So back to here. So again, the hard part is, you only have so much flexibility because there's a lot of requirements that need to be filled, right? So for example, English. I mean, you have to take English every year in high school in New Jersey, so that's one spot already filled. You gotta have a math, you gotta have Dr. Barnes-Johnson mentioned most students start with biology. There's a little bit of flexibility there. Everybody needs 2 years of United States history. So I'm going back to that graduation requirement slide from the beginning. 2 years of United States history and then a year of world history. Mrs. Russell just said at least 1 year of a world language at the high school level. Hopefully more than that if you can find some room. Phys ed and health required all 4 years of high school. So there's things that need to be done before we can really open our schedules up. But if you get a lot of this stuff done and we don't have any bumps in the road, by the time you get to senior year, most students are maybe down to just their English class and a phys ed class because you need those all 4 years. And then they really have a lot of options. And this is where the Mercer County Tech classes come in or the Princeton University classes come in. We're taking multiple languages or we're taking multiple visual performing arts because that's their niche. You really find a lot of opportunities open there if you stay the course the first 3 years and stay on track. All right. Similar to something one of my colleagues said tonight about, I think it was Dr. Barnes-Johnson with biology, getting that. It's a graduation requirement in New Jersey to have biology. So most high schools do that in freshman year, right? Get it out of the way. So as far as electives go, right? The classes for quote unquote for fun. As far as electives go, there are requirements in that area. One course in your 4 years needs to be a visual performing art class. One class needs to be a 21st century class, more like a tech class, and then a financial literacy, or you'll hear kids use the word economics. So it is recommended, it's not required, but it is recommended to knock that out, at least one of those 3. Maybe if you do one freshman year, one sophomore, one junior year, then by the time you get to senior year again, we just talked about really opening up your schedule. And then taking an 8th additional elective course is, a good idea. All right, so course selection in Power School. So if you are a Princeton middle school family, then your Power School is our Power School. It's all the same. If you are from Cranberry or the charter school, they use Power School also, but they are separate. We are separate districts, so we just happen to both be vendors of that product, but they are not connected in any manner. So to connect them not to connect them, but really to get you as 8th graders from Cranberry or Charter to our Power School is a manual process. That is underway. I hear that's going to be new. I didn't actually know. I just assumed, like, I'm a database guy. Like, we want everything in our Power School, so we know exactly how many students want certain classes. Not to put anybody on the spot, but did anybody from Cranberry or Charter get a mysterious email today? So I apologize for that. I didn't know that was going to happen, but it's a sign that things, I think, are moving in the right direction. And what that means is that that transition piece where folks from Cranberry and Charter are being exported out of your Power School and being brought over into ours to kind of start transitioning you to us, and which should allow all students in 8th grade in Princeton Middle School, the Cranberry School, and the Charter School to pick their courses in Power School. That's a little premature that went out. It's not a problem, but if you don't know what that is, that's what I believe. I'm going to get confirmation from our technology folks tomorrow, but that's what I believe that is. But the Power School portal, so if you have any older students at Princeton High School, the timeline is a little different. But the Power School portal here will open for current 8th grade students February 11th to March 10th. Or March 11th, sorry, right up there. All right? So that's okay. We want, tonight is a lot to digest, right? The program of studies, as Mr. Lanahan said, the program of studies booklet itself is a lot to digest. And listening to me and rewatching this video, if you choose to do that, or looking at this PowerPoint again, it's a lot to digest. So this is intentional to take the time now without worrying about clicking buttons and going into a system and all that. You can do that in a couple weeks when it opens. For now, you're just wrapping your head around. And if you're reaching out, Mr. Lanahan asked you to, reach out to some folks if you're trying to do upper level things in the visual performing arts. Mrs. Russell asked you to reach out if you're thinking about doing things in upper level languages. So there's other pieces that can be worked on in the intervening time. In addition to the 8 courses that we ask you to select, according to this slide that was just up a minute ago, we ask you to also pick a few alternates, right? Because things might happen and, again, a course, you might be one of only a handful of students that pick a course and we just aren't going to offer it if there's only 4 of kids in the whole school that want to take a course, unfortunately. Just not something we might be able to do. So we're going to ask you to pick a few backup or alternate courses, all right? So we talked earlier about prerequisites when that slide came up that wasn't supposed to be there. So you have to be careful to make sure that if there is a prerequisite that you do meet it. And the program of studies, please be mindful that next to any course you look at, so you thumb through the thing, under any course title, it will say the grades that the class is open to. So that booklet, the current 9th graders, 10th graders, and 11th graders are doing this same thing right now. They might be a little more familiar with it because they're here already, and maybe obviously if they're in 11th grade and they're going into senior year, they've done this 3 times already. But please be mindful for you guys, if this is the first time you're going through it, to see that a course, you see the title and right below it, it says 10 through 12. Well, that means it's not, unfortunately, available to a 9th grader. So just something to be mindful of. And then if a recommendation is required, obviously, that's something you and the student and teacher would converse about. All right, this is just a screenshot so you know what it looks like when we are at this point, which is obviously, again, not right now. That little pencil icon, again, you guys will have this available to you soon. That little pencil icon to the right is where you would click on, and then that will pop up like that, right? And then you see how there are boxes down the left. You would click on the one you want, and then there's you can see the bar on the right there. You would scroll down and then there's a submit button, and that's how you would pick. In this case, this is how you would pick your English class. So just so you know what to expect, again, there you go. So if you scroll down, right, you can see here it says, I didn't pick anything yet. You have to pick one, and then over on the right, it's okay or cancel. Okay. All right, timeline, right? So again, if you have older siblings, relatives, friends, neighbors that are here at the high school already, their timeline is a little different. Their Power School is open currently, but that's okay. You guys, this is when it'll be open for you. Mrs. Russell mentioned the high school counselors here, the folks whose pictures I had up way at the beginning of the evening. They will be going across the street in March. They'll be going to Cranberry in April 2nd, and then the charter school April 3rd. So that might look like, whoa, hey, why do the in-district kids have this big? there's not really a gap. Spring break is in there, right? So it's actually not too far apart from each other, but there were other events and other things and programs and concerts and shows and plays, and there were other things we had to work around in all 3 schools, and this is what worked out best for our school and then the 3 local schools as well. June 7th, so just to give you a peek behind the curtain, that is the Friday prior to the last week of school, which, as you can imagine, here in a high school, it's a very exciting time as we prepare for graduation. It is also an intensely stressful time, right? So that date, that's when it is. It's the Friday before the last week of school, because we want to kind of stay away from that. So, in all actuality, you have from February to June, so 4 months almost, 3.5 months, to really dial this in, and again, through communicating with supervisors or teachers, and then meeting with the counselors here in my office, there's a lot of help along the way. All right, so there's that June 7th date again. So once schedules are released, okay, so this slide, I probably should have drawn a line in the middle. So at the top half, changes to course requests. Courses I am requesting, I am asking for, I am wishing to take next year. June 7th, as I just said, changing, all right, well, I asked for this, but I think I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to ask for this instead. But then, I should either separate the slide or draw a thick line in the middle. Once schedules are released, so now we're fast forwarding, we're skipping the summer, and we're fast forwarding to school starting, all right? It's either email or we might do a Google form. We did a Google form this year, and this was right as I was coming on board, so we'll have to see what we do there. We will communicate with you as best we possibly can. We will make this all readily available. We will be as transparent as we possibly can. Just so you're aware, there are 1,500 students in this building, so the first couple of days of school, or the first couple of days when schedules are released, there's a lot of confusion or questions like, what happened to this I wanted? Remember I said pick a couple backups just in case things happen, right? So there's a lot of questions. And sometimes as we are literally physically manipulating individual student schedules, and there's again 1,500 of them, we're human, we make mistakes, right? So maybe I drop a class and then I get interrupted, my phone rings, I get interrupted, and then I add something else and I added the wrong thing, or I forgot to drop something. We're all human, we all make mistakes, and these are manual processes. So the first few days of school, the counselors have their hands full as it is, just fixing the human errors that may have occurred in the summer. So, a request at that point, so now we're talking about, school starting, an ask of okay, I got my schedule and I wanted this, but I didn't get it and I want that instead, we have to fix the problems first. We have to make sure students have the right schedule first. So, again, a minute ago I said English. You need English every year. If somebody for some reason doesn't have an English class, that's a problem, and we really need to correct that. All right. Okay, so being proactive is always better than being reactive, right? So what is this slide for? So doing the best you can now and making sure when the counselor comes across the street, things happen. I mean, they're going to be there for a few days. I know Cranberry and Charter, they're only there for one day, smaller population. But if it just so happens that you took a longer spring break, and so, and you're a Charter family or Cranberry family, and the student is not in the school building that day, well then, communicate with us. Let us know, right? And we're being proactive. We're not just going to wait and let that, fall by the wayside. It is, I guess what this slide is really trying to get at, and you can read there, you can tell I tried not to read to you tonight. I just don't love when people present and read to the audience. But really, you don't want to find yourself in a jam in September because you just kind of now, like in February, you just go in, let's click some buttons, let's submit this thing, and then we'll just forget about it. This is an intentional process, a very important process, and, the odds are better that you'll get what you want by, trying to get it right the first time, speaking with counselors, reaching out to us at any level, teacher, supervisor, counselor, whoever, to try to make sure everything is where it needs to be. And there will be a point, just so everybody knows, in Power School where, let's say it's April or May or June even, it's, oh my gosh, it's almost June 7th. I better what did we pick? What did we settle on? What did we decide, right? Life is crazy and busy. It will be viewable. You might not be able to manipulate it after March 11th, but it will be viewable to you. So you can always log back into that and see it, all right? So again, we are now, again, still talking about the start of next school year. I know, a little crazy, right? But just so you know, there are certain time frames where students can do certain things. They can't do certain things. There are repercussions for doing certain things. You know, obviously we use the word college a lot here, but really, ultimately, I mean, when kids leave here, students leave here and they're 18 years old, we're preparing them for adulthood. And we all know that, I'm not here to lecture anyone, but we all know that there are, you know, decisions that get made as adults, and there are consequences for every single one of those decisions. So just a little note there, and again, you'll have this so you can refer back to it. This chart is literally copy-pasted from the program of studies, so it's in there so that, you know that there's time frames. And we'll send this out again when school starts. We'll send it probably a couple times, and just like Ms. Brennan had a math chart. She said it's in every math class in 6 through 12, right? I'm going to make sure every counselor has this on their bulletin board right in front of their face, so we all know the time frames when we're going to be, to make sure students get the right information of when they can do certain things and what the consequences of those things will be. All right. It's not meant to be funny, but no, you cannot change your schedule because you want to be with your friends, or no, you can't change your schedule because I'm not a morning person, and can I just have math in the bottom rotation of the schedule? No, that's not going to work. And choosing teachers, guys, I don't know any school that does that, right? Kids, you can't pick your teachers. So just a few, hopefully no-brainers, but just wanted to mention those things. All right, so we are getting to the end. I know I've been up here for quite a while. You've been a great audience. New student orientation is the last week of August. As the new guy, I've tried really hard to not come in and shake things up in my world. All right, what works here? What works at Princeton? Like Ms. Brennan said, she and I, we've done this before, but we're new here. Orientation has historically been the last week of August, but I've also been hearing it also conflicts with some staff development as we start the school year, as most schools do. They bring the teachers and staff back a few days before the students, and so there might be some consideration for trying to not have those things overlap. So it's August, it's late August, so we will work on this some more and get a date to you as soon as that is finalized. All right, so you've seen a few email addresses out there tonight in the presentation, right? To make it very simple, it's our first names and our last names, no spaces, no periods, no scores, none of that. First name and last name at princetonk12.org. Obviously, you're going to get a bounce back if it's wrong. So my first name is John. If you spell it Jon, that's not how I spell it. It'll bounce back. I am John, right? So just an example. Obviously, these are all available on the website or the main phone number, and you will get connected to the person you are trying to reach. So we are, again, so thrilled, so excited, so happy to see so many of you here tonight, and we couldn't be more excited to welcome is it going to be the class of 2028, right? That sounds crazy. Again, my daughter's class of high school. So thank you very much for coming. I hear it's very foggy out there. Be careful on your ride home, and we look forward to working with you in the future.